Today's topic is: what's something that happens often in movies that is 100% unrealistic? Somebody falls and catches the edge of something, hanging on by just their fingers. Try it sometime. That kind of finger strength takes training. Even people who exercise regularly can't do it, unless they have specifically trained for it. CPR, person is 80-plus-year-old and is already sick but miraculously gets her heartbeat back and leaves the hospital alive. The chances of that happening to anyone over 50 with multiple ongoing issues is not as high as you think. The days of the universal genius are long past. Science is too vast and too complex for one person to know it all. I understand why you don't want to introduce more characters, but it would be way better to have your science character say, "I know just who to call for that question," than to answer everything on the spot or have the forensic medicine expert build a death ray satellite. The lack of general tiredness. A prolonged fight with even one henchman would probably render someone out of breath for a good 10 to 20 minutes. The hero, especially one in their 60s, would be complaining all morning, and waking up the next day with an even more sore back. Leave the bottle. If you think I'm leaving the weird newcomer with a whole bottle of dark liquor and expecting them to afford it, you've got another thing coming. More than that, I'd get in a ton of trouble for over-serving. How am I even supposed to charge for half bottle of our finest whiskey? No, not happening, ever. Unless you either own the place, pay stupid money, or I couldn't care about the cheap swill and you still pay good money and are known to the owners. Bird sounds. Oftentimes they will just throw in sounds of birds without knowing where that bird's natural habitat is. A common example is the sound of a common loon in a desert. Loons live in areas with tons of fresh water. Horses are prey animals and rarely whinny unless they're communicating with another horse over a long distance. If they're talking to a human, it is a very low nicker that's basically exhaling through the nose in a specific way. And they don't neigh out of anger while trying to unseat a rider or pulling away from where they're tied. The most you'd hear in those situations is a squeal of frustration or a snort of alarm at a scary thing. But by all means, add the whole soundboard to any scene featuring a horse. It's much more exciting. People getting across town in minutes any time of day or night, no matter the traffic. Also, how much stuff they get done in a day. I mean, I gotta get to the bank and the cleaners today, how am I gonna also foil these jewel thieves? Ain't nobody got time for that. That scene when there's a room full of characters and they all deliver their individual line of exposition, and then right at the end another character walks into the room and delivers that final bit of exposition, even though they weren't even in the room, so how did they even know what everyone else was talking about? That bugs the shit out of me. Also, a major reason I love Altman movies is because he nails dialogue, the messiness of it, the way people actually talk over each other in real life, adds so much immersion to a scene. The breakfast scenes. No one is getting a full-on breakfast with eggs, bacon, toast, waffles, juice. Especially when both parents are working. Also, the single moms in huge homes with deadbeat exes while working a marketing job for an up-and-coming coffee brand. When one character catches another character committing a crime. Then they make it obvious they know what they did and sometimes even tell them that they are going to call the police. Then of course that character tries to kidnap them or kill them. In real life, you would act like you didn't see anything and act normal. You also wouldn't tell someone that you are going to call the police on them. This trope is very unrealistic and just makes it convenient for the character to kill them or get away with the crime. Driver taking their eyes off the road for a really long time, to look at / converse with their passenger. Playing a musical instrument when they clearly don't have a clue about basic finger positioning. Perfect morning routines where everyone's dressed nicely and eating a full breakfast. Meanwhile, I'm over here chugging cold coffee in my mismatched socks while trying to find my keys that I literally just had in my hand. Use a nuclear bomb to sterilize a threat like aliens, zombies, or a new disease. And then use as the cover story that the conveniently located nuclear reactor had a meltdown and exploded. Yeah, nuclear reactors don't explode like that, and now you would just have a shit ton of nuclear fallout on top of the other issue. Trucks or cars don't make a sound until they come into frame and are running someone over. Yeah, car accidents are the #1 cause of accidental death in America, but that truck is fucking loud and driving down a straight road. Don't tell me y'all didn't hear it until it hit your friend who is standing in the middle of the road. Anytime anyone goes underwater, I hold my breath during those scenes to see if I would have made it, and I've drowned hundreds of times now. Computer hacking scenes where they just smash random keys and suddenly they're in. I'm a software developer and I literally spent 3 hours yesterday trying to fix a single semicolon that was breaking my entire code. Sliding sideways on a motorcycle, those tires are soft grippy rubber designed to have maximum grip at crazy lean angles. Trust me, you're not sliding them. In sci-fi movies, all the space ships seem to have artificial gravity built into the floors or the bottom of the ship. A few exceptions are For All Mankind, and the Tom Hanks movie about the failed moon mission. Generally, unless they have a rotating ring where centrifugal force mimics gravity, they're all very unrealistic. Everybody is constantly tearing up and crying constantly in every scene these days. Some emotional confrontation 200 times in every scene of every episode of every TV show. Also, people with trauma have this huge chip on their shoulder and want to talk about it all the time. In real life, traumatic shit is usually the last thing people want to talk about even if it is affecting them. People seem to completely skip over the grieving stages when a loved one dies. Wanting to go out and get revenge, having coherent conversations with the main characters, or having perspective on the meaning of loss. In reality, people are disassociating from their bodies and practically zombies as they walk through life. The trauma will stay with them for years and reverberates out, not just to the immediate family, but an entire community. Beyond the intense grieving process, it will shake people to their core, where they lose a sense of security and meaning in the world. Animals must constantly make noise to the point it's ridiculous. It's like no animal can ever be silent. Rats squeak, snakes hiss, bugs make a chittering sound. Even dogs and cats aren't safe, they'll often put at least a panting sound when a dog is on screen. I hate when we pan to a cat and there's a meow, and the cat clearly didn't actually make it. When someone essentially says, nothing, or, don't worry about it, or, you'll see, etc., the other person/party drops it without a single further question. Life isn't like that. You say things like that in real life and you're going to be peppered with endless questions until you tell them what's going on and likely ruin a surprise or something. Nobody closes doors in movies. They walk into a room or even a house and they often don't close the door behind them. It sounds ridiculous, but watch for it now and you'll see it. Cheating on your partner somehow understanding that you've fallen in love with someone else while on a work trip, living happily ever after with the homewrecker. Basically the plot of every Hallmark movie. A 120-pound physically fit woman fighting and beating a 200-pound physically fit man. People taking on dozens of enemies at once. Said enemies waiting one at a time to fight instead of jumping the one person. My big pet peeve is people getting grown through windows, or being near windows in an explosion. In reality, getting thrown through a window would result in being cut up pretty bad, but everyone just gets up and carries on like it's no big deal. When you strike someone in the head with an object that immediately knocks them out for multiple hours. They don't get up a little bit dizzy after a peaceful snooze, they will be severely concussed and will need medical attention, possibly severely brain damaged. And that's if they're lucky enough to even survive and not choke on their own tongue. Really minor, but I always notice when they show a text message interaction between two characters, and the amount of times it is the first message in the chat when it absolutely wouldn't be. The badass character who leaves the hospital against medical advice, and always just rips his 4 out of his own arm and keeps walking. No blood, no scream of pain. Because yeah, he's such a badass. People speaking in full sentences without stammering or repeating a word ever. And they take turns only after a sentence is completed. It's like scriptwriters have never ever witnessed a real conversation. People getting knocked into the air from an explosion and getting up like it's okay. Brother, that is a concussion wave. That is not the same as a physical object hitting you hard enough to knock you off of your feet. That is the air lifting you in the air. The energy required to do that to a body would be insane, and that wave doesn't stop at your skin, it goes through you. All of your organs take that force as well. When you land, you'd be a bag of skin with organ soup inside. Even lighter concussive explosions would at the very least do really, really nasty things to your lungs and blow out your eardrums. When someone is falling and the hero catches them with one hand or a metal rope. The impact of a person in freefall coming to a sudden stop can generate over thousands of pounds of force. The strength in your hand will not be able to hold on, and if it could, it would rip your entire arm off. Ordering a massive meal and drinks, then just getting up and leaving after 2 bites. Finishing a phone conversation by just hanging up, no goodbye, see you later, etc., or that an American thing. Cops asking a bartender if they have seen a suspect, and the bartender immediately saying yeah, last Thursday night around 10:30, and describe the person's outfit down to the type of shoes. No way someone in that line of work will be able to identify someone from a photo multiple days later after said time spent working with hundreds of patrons. Doctors actually doing investigative diagnostics and putting in the work and hours until the problem has been identified and at least partially solved. Being able to share files with like 2 taps on a phone or device at most. This doesn't happen in real life. Someone will not have Adobe downloaded, or their organization stores files in a format that hasn't been used since the Stone Age. Or heck, one person has an Android phone and the other an iPhone. Like the big FBI guy walks into an office he has never been to before, taps his phone, and the video showing the bad guy or whatever pops up on the big screen. Like wow, does no one have a firewall or security systems?